Now we're going to talk about variables. Variables is the big one because it's something that some people find rather tricky. But variables are in every single game. They are all the things that have a number on them where that number can change during the game. For example, your score. Your score starts at 0, but it changes during the game unless you're really bad at it. Your lives, extra lives, will normally start at 3 and then count down to 0. It might have a time. Those are just the ones that you can see. There are normally a whole load of other variables that you can't see. So I'm going to put a nice simple variable in just now. First of all, then if you click on the variables, there's almost nothing there because we haven't made any yet. So I'm going to start by making a variable. I'm going to call that, let's just call it lives. Now, do I want it for all sprites or for this sprite only? If it's relevant, if you're going to have 20 ghosts, you want to have it for that sprite only so that each one can have a copy of the variable, but it is not changing each other's. So if it's something like lives, which affects the whole game, for all sprites. If it's something particular, especially for ghosts or aliens or whatever is in your game, you want to have it for that sprite only. So I'm going to have lives, which are for the whole game. And now I've got in my variable list, I've got lives there. There's a tick on it. That tick means it's up on the screen. You can see it says on the screen lives 0. Now, in another tutorial, I talked about starting conditions, which is how the game starts. And how the game starts is with 3 lives. So I'm going to use my set lives, and I'm going to put this, nope, this is my ghost script. I'm going to put this into the ball script. You can put variables like that into different things, but you want to be careful. It's best to keep it in the one that it's relevant to. Because otherwise, if I put it into the ghost scripts, then suddenly I find there's a lot of different ghosts if I copy it, and they're all trying to do the same thing. Okay, set lives to 0. I'm going to put that anywhere up here in my starting conditions. Doesn't matter where. It's going to go through all of these things before the game starts. And lives will start the game at 3. Okay, so there's my set, and then I need my change lives. Well, let's say if touching the ghost, then let's not have stop all anymore. Let's take that out, leave it down here. Then you're going to change lives. Not by 1 though, that would be strange if the lives kept going up, but by -1. So now every time it touches the ghost, lives will go down to -1. And then we can have him going back somewhere, moving away from the ghost. We can have the ghost moving as well, but for now let's just have the ball. I want the ball to go back over here. Let's go, if as before, my go to already there. I might want to make him wait a second so that it doesn't just continue like nothing's happened. And I'm going to put the wait before the go, so he stops, so he waits, nothing happens, and then he jumps back and starts again. So now, when I start the game, I've got my 3 lives. You can see at the top 3 lives. Now it's 2 lives. He's gone back over there. And now it's 1 life. And now it's 0. Unfortunately, it's going to keep going down. It's now -1, -2. It's going to keep going down because I haven't said what happens when lives gets to 0. So I'm going to stop that and put in another little bit of script down here now that says another if phrase. If lives equals 0, I'm actually not going to use the equals. I'm going to use the less than 1. Because if I say lives equals 0, if something happens, for example, if I have 2 ghosts and the ball touches them both at the same time, it'll jump from 1 to -1 and the game will keep going because it will never equal 0. So it's best to use the greater than less than ones so that if he does touch 1 or 2 or 3 ghosts at the same time, it's going to be less than 1, the game ends. I've still got my blank there. If I go to variables, now next to where it's ticked, I can actually drag that into the box. It's got rounded edges and drag that in there. So now if lives is less than 1, if lives is less than 1, then I want to stop all. I'm going to go and get my stop all that I took out earlier and drop it in there. So, and if I want to, I can have him saying game over. So now when the lives will start at 3, when it ticks down to 0 or anything less than 1, the ghost will say game over and the whole game will stop.